Hello, everyone, Spirit family. Thank you for being here.
Aloha.
Jordan isn't going to be with us
Hello.
today on this call as he's currently busy helping us move another friend of the studio to a new place. And so he's not going to be with us today, but obviously he's here in spirit. So holding that space. Thank you, Jordan. And yeah, our call today is going to be a little bit different than the normal calls of like free-flowing conversation. We were talking just before we started the broadcast about sharing experiences and having sort of a talking stick and going around the circle and opening a question and taking the time to really hear and listen what each and everyone's experiences are or their perspective about a given topic if they wish, and to really take the time to hear everyone's stories and to learn from each other as we're here in this collective experience together. So to bring attention to what we have to give and what other people are speaking about as well, so that we can listen and receive in that nature. And so this is going to open up the spirit science sharing circle, SpiritSide chat. And so we're very grateful to have you all here with us. So thank you. So I would like to start this here by opening up just a moment of inner reflection and meditation as we ground ourselves in the divine energy that's infinitely present. Let's just take a moment now to close our eyes, just relax, and breathe. One of the first questions I wanted to pose for this group as we go around is the expression of meditation, of spiritual practice. We all have different reflections or different perspectives of what meditations work for us or which practices we were really fond of. And myself personally, I love hearing other people talk about the practices that they're passionate about, as I want to know, like, what inspired you or what are you receiving from that practice? And so the first question I'd love to open up is just a very simple, like, what's your favorite meditation or general spiritual practice? And then going a little bit deeper as to why, or what is it about that practice that moves you and made it your favorite in the first place? And I think for myself personally, I would say my favorite practice or style of practice has probably been mantras, because it has allowed me to listen to the voice in my head and really put words into that voice. Om Namah Sukhi Anandaram, the respectful appreciation for happiness, bliss, and joy. And I would focus those thoughts through my consciousness and observe how I felt when I was thinking about happiness, bliss, and joy. And as these mantras permeate my consciousness, as I think about them, as I create that experience, it manifested stronger. And the expression was, my attention was on the happiness, and therefore I created more of it. And it was just a fun experience. And so I've used many, many, many different mantras, and each one has a different flavor or a different experience to it. And it's fun. It's like reading a different book. Of once you know how to read, the library just opens its doors. Of once you know how to tap into the energy behind a mantra, you can start exploring all the different flavors that have been contained within those words. And it's been a wonderful experience. And so,
Well, that's it. They're spells, aren't they? There's a reason we call it spelling. The words we use carry power, carry weight in the energy. It's, people think, oh, it's words, it's just words, you listen to them. But think about it. It's a vibration exiting your body and traveling through the air and entering your own ears and other people's ears and matter as it is. And that vibration carries power. I mean, again, most people probably know the work of Dr. Masaru Emoto and the work he did with water and freezing crystals. Yeah. So, I mean, that's evidence enough. Anyone who doesn't believe in any kind of power of energy in the human body or matter in itself, then to go look at that work, because it's
very
evident. You can
scientific.
see physical pictures of what's happening.
Totally. But yeah, take it away,
Yeah,
Anthony.
mantras.
Let's hear about your favorite practice.
Thanks. I think any practice that brings the inner world into the outer world. I mean, just like you said with a mantra, technique that allows you to meditate without meditating. So I mean, I always feel that anything I do in meditation, I eventually want to integrate into my daily life. So it's effortless. It's just a state of being, a state of mind. Everything's a state of mind. You have a state of mind for being in the army. You have a state of mind for being a light worker. You have these states of mind, and we play the part. We are actors in a sense. We have personas and the ego, and the more we learn to channel that ego to direct the energy of the soul, the better we can integrate light into our lives. And that's how I like to think of meditation, being the point of meditation, to actually not meditate, if you get what I mean in that sense. So any practice. I mean, most recently I have like a highs, which I kind of changed a bit from Michael Monk, if anyone knows him, and that's to just breathe naturally and start paying attention to the breath as you do, not forcing it and not just ignoring it, and pulling that physical energy into the heart, like trying to visualize it, and actually taking the what you imagine to be there and pulling it through your body and kind of washing through your midsection and different areas of the body, whatever you're focusing on, mainly the heart at first, to get attuned to it. So that's a meditation I'm working on right now, actually. Yeah, very interesting. I love it.
I'm just going to go along the pictures that I see along the bottom, and the next one in order there is Benoit. Would you like to share?
Hey, sorry, I'm a little distracted. I'll be able to share in a bit, but how about we let everyone else share first?
Totally. All good.
Thank you.
Karen.
I actually have like two of my favorite. I feel like one of the things that really work for me is like visualization. I'm a very like visual person, and not only like combining visualization with like will, and like using the will to move the visualization forward and like understand that it's real, and using that intention. So for example, connecting with the core of the earth and the sky and aligning yourself, and then visualizing the chakras are very important for me. They work for me really well. If I want to kind of like cleanse my body, cleaning my body is super important. So tons of visualizations. One could be like pouring gold liquid all the way from the bottom all the way to the top, and then releasing it down. And as it releases, like it cleans you out. And like me feeling that, me visualizing it, like it is so powerful to me. And then the second powerful thing to me is definitely like Tai Chi is like my favorite. It's more like intuition. I don't really, I'm learning more about it, but I feel like, if you just really listen to your body, it'll show you and it'll help you feel in a way like how to untangle itself, and moving energies around with your hands is just a sense of like kind of like avatar-ish. It's really like cool. So combining that with visualization, you have a very powerful like almost Merkaba opening meditation. Those are like my favorite, most powerful, but those happen like the least. But yeah.
Totally. I've had similar experiences too with visualizations. There's some mantras that I know of that are specifically visualizations. It's a single word that's supposed to provoke a concept that you would sit and visualize. And it's a huge part of meditation. It's very true of that picture and creating it through your will. I love that. It's very good. Kevin.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
All right. So I'm excited about this question because I'm 45, and for my first 40 years, I was a capitalist, and I believe that science kind of had it all figured out. So I went through a complete transformation, and part of that transformation was actually taking ayahuasca.
Hmm.
And what happened when I took ayahuasca is it was a small dose actually, and it only lasted about 45 minutes instead of the 2 to 6 hours you often hear. And during that time, I didn't see a lot of visuals. I did almost immediately hear another voice in my head. It was a completely separate voice, and it was a completely separate set of thoughts that I had never had before, certainly. And as a result, what it did was it taught me a whole bunch of things, because I asked it lots of great questions and it answered amazingly. And I'd love to tell you about that sometime too. But what happened is that it taught me that it's always there. And so as soon as it was over, as soon as the experience was over, I realized that I could talk to that voice anytime I wanted to. And I believe that even though I don't necessarily follow I'm going to set aside a half an hour to do my meditation practice, I definitely close my eyes and sit in silence for a moment and ask the voice a question. And I just named it The Voice because the first ayahuasca experience, it didn't name itself, and I didn't care. It wasn't important. It was too amazing. Who cares about the name? This is perfect and awesome. So it wasn't until later that I finally got to ask its name, and of course it said its name was Aya. But ultimately, now what I can do is, when faced with any decision that I might need to make, I can simply close my eyes and ask the question. And the important part about doing this, for me, and probably for others too, is that you need to listen for an answer. You don't try to answer it yourself. You just listen for the answer. Just like if you were talking to someone else that's sitting across from you. You wouldn't go, "Hey, what do you think we should do?" I think you think that we should do this. Like, what? They'd be like, "What are you talking about?" Like, let me answer for a second. So if you do that to that voice that's always there, then, and if it doesn't answer right away, wait, ask the question again. And then eventually it will, and you'll be surprised at how, of course, this is probably your intuition, at how amazingly accurate and helpful it is, the answer that it gives.
Thank you for sharing that. That's really good. I love that concept, because I've had very similar experiences. I've gone through that ceremony as well, and I know exactly what you're talking about with that voice. But to just simplify your meditation practice is to converse with that energy. Boom.
Absolutely.
That's very awesome. I'm going to hop back to Benoit, because I saw that you had a message there saying you're ready to go. So
here I am. Thanks for your patience, everyone. And thanks for sharing. Very interesting so far. Those practices resonated quite a bit. Visualization is something new for me as well, that I've come to realize is very powerful. I don't have a regular practice either, so I felt a little unsure about how to answer at first. But some things that I think where meditation or introspection becomes the most valuable for me is as I am going through life. Any new experiences or meetings or conversations often give me a chance to reconnect with myself. And so the technique that I would like to bring up is body awareness. And you can do this obviously through meditation and doing like body scans and whatnot. I like to use it while I'm talking to people, because my body, and I've learned to listen to my body's cues. And so sometimes it'll be very subtle, like a little pinch somewhere in my back or my shoulder or in my head or anywhere. And I've been practicing noticing what the sensation is, comparing it to past sensations that I've had, and associating it with a habit or an interaction that I'm having currently and why that would be triggered. And I've found such amazing insight in just taking a moment whenever I have a physical sensation, especially during a live conversation, to just take a mental note of it at least, but then, if possible, take some time aside to just contemplate what the connection there might be. And then, I often get flooded with insight, and it's really overwhelming sometimes because I'm in the middle of a conversation. So I'm just thinking like, wow, this is related to my mother complex, or this is related to, me repressing my sexuality or whatever, whatever it is. So it can be a little intense, but I've found immense benefit from just taking the time to pay attention to that aspect. So
okay,
that's what I'd like to share.
Really amazing. Thank you very much.
That's great, Benoit. Thank you.
Love that. Joshua, what is your favorite meditation and why?
That right there. The easiest thing you can do is just stop, be silent, and smile. Just breathe right there. Feel that. You can do that any time of day, in a second, or for 60. And all you have to do is smile. It's not that hard. And you feel amazing. And the better you feel, the adjustment to your perceptual filter, and therefore how you interact with your environment and every person, improves. And at that point, because you're doing better, everyone you interact with does better. I don't see anything better than that.
I love that. Simple, simply effective, profoundly effective.
Absolutely. I want to say a lot of the most profound truths are often the simplest. That's
exactly.
It reminds me of a teaching I saw, and I'm looking for the video now, but I'll share it with the group, about the most pleasing 5-letter word being smile, and how it can completely change any interaction that you're in. But I'll find the video and share it here.
Awesome. Thank you. Nicholas, welcome to the chat. You have recently joined here, and I'd love to include you in this as well. If you're willing to share, what is your favorite meditation, or what type of practices do you do, and what type of benefits have you noticed in your life, or why? Why do you like those practices?
I think I like to pray to God. Yeah. And
what do you do in your prayer
I like
ritual?
to meditate too sometimes. As I pray, I meditate on what I'm praying. Yeah. I just woke up.
Totally.
So can
Prayer
you
is,
give
again,
us like an example? I mean, what do you go through? I mean, obviously you're praying, setting an intention.
Usually I just pray for a better life.
Do you make a ritual out of it? Do you pray? Mean to you?
I just pray to Jesus and God.
Great.
And yeah. What's the topic of this chat?
Sharing. It's all about hearing the stories of your fellow community, your peers, your family, really, and listening and sharing and realizing the gift that you have to give, but also listening to all of the other perspectives that everyone shares, because we learn through this process. And so in a single word, like community, maybe sharing.
Interesting.
But yeah, I want to say for myself personally, I feel a lot of parallels between what you had said there, Nicholas, and Kevin's experience of realizing that I have voice, of opening up that connection and that conversation and saying, you know what, I'm here to listen. I want to commune and open up that prayer channel. And I want to say the exact same experience happens to me when I start opening up certain mantras, because a lot of these mantras are just specifically a prayer. It's just a very simple prayer. Just repeat and you enter that prayer-like state. And so I'm like really glad that you brought attention to that, Nicholas, because prayer again is just another great way to describe connecting yourself with the energy that's beyond your little thoughts going on in here and trying to get a different perspective.
Yeah, everyone shared such a beautiful experience, so thank you for everyone.
So the next question I want to pass around the circle here is bringing attention to the spiritual significance in our daily life. And Benoit's meditation practice that he mentioned, of that body awareness, of being like really on point, of paying attention to those little energies as they're coming through, is like a great example of a real life scenario that would happen where you were in a moment and felt something go through and paid attention to it. So if we want to share a recent experience that we've kind of gone through in our day-to-day lives, and again, I want it to be something like not your most spiritually significant moment, but to like pick something almost seemingly mundane in the past couple of days, but to illustrate how even the simplest things all also have lessons to teach us, is sort of where I want this to go. And so I'd love to start this off by sharing some of my experiences just from this past weekend. My parents have been moving from like my childhood house to a new house in a new town. And it's been a very interesting experience for me to go to what I thought was my old house, or even my old room, and see it being like completely gone. Like they're doing renovations, the house has already been sold, and there's like a construction company in there, and like my room physically doesn't exist anymore. So I'm like standing in this construction site, I'm like, you know, at one point in time, I was really attached to this location. I was attached to these experiences, and the idea of all of that change would have at that time been very almost traumatic for me. But from where I'm at right now, I realized like no attachment to that location. Like it served its purpose and then some. And I just had this wave of gratitude come over me. I'm like, no one will really know per se the experiences that I had in that building or why it was significant to me. And whoever follows, their experience is going to be infinitely different, because the location has changed, the time has changed, the layout of the house is now different. So all of these things, I'm like, you know, the future is so broad and so infinite. I'm looking at this going like, I have no idea what this room is going to hold for the next people or the next family or any of that. But in this moment, all I can do is be just really grateful for what it was and what it was there for me, and how I grew through these things, but then completely release it and say, you know what, let's send this off to the next house. And my mom and I actually took a moment, and we went into like their old master bedroom, and we like held hands and went into a prayer, and we spent like several minutes deeply in prayer, specifically to cleanse the energy of that space, to say, you know what, we had great experiences here, but we also had some painful experiences here. But let's hold a space of gratitude for the whole thing. Let's really love and appreciate God's work through this, and send it to the next space, so that whoever else is going to be coming into here receives it as clean and pure, and are able to step into that and grow in it. And so it was just a really profound experience to like detach from my childhood home, to send it off into the new family that's going to live there and bless it and be grateful in that gift was, I don't know, it was moving for me. So yeah, I just want to say hello and welcome, Jocelyn.
Hi, Jocelyn.
Okay. Jocelyn, just to bring you up to speed, have you been watching the call? Are you familiar, caught up? Okay. We're kind of going in a sharing circle, a little bit different than the typical calls we've been doing, just sort of posing questions and really listening to the different members of our spirit family here and what we all have to share in this. And so the first question was, what is your favorite meditational practice and why, or what benefit has it brought to you in your life? And I'd be really happy to kind of take a little step back and hear your 2 cents on that one, and then go forward with the next question of the spiritual experiences.
Okay. Yeah, so lately it's been my favorite meditational practice has been like knowing the knower, knowing who is the one that's actually experiencing this moment, consciousness, awareness itself. And so like every so often for 2 to 5 seconds, I'll place attention on that awareness and ask, like, who is the one experiencing this? Who is the one that is, you know, that is interfacing? This
Hello.
is Kane, my son. Yeah, I have him this weekend, so. But anyway.
What's your name?
His name is Kane.
Hello, Kane.
So,
hope you have a good day.
Hold on 1 second. I'm just gonna see.
Hey, the name Cain means fighter.
Ah, like as in Abel and Cain. That sort of a reference as well.
No, it's actually so it's a different Kane. It's Kane, which is
that one means fighter or warrior.
Yes, exactly. No, inside, baby. No, not right now. Inside. Okay.
I just wanted to share with you guys the definition of meditation. It's a contemplation, devout preoccupation, devotion, and prayer. From Old French medication, thought, reflection, study, and directly from Latin meditationem, a thinking over meditation, noun of action from past participle stem of meditare, to meditate, think over, reflect, consider. From a frequent form of pi root med, take appropriate measures.
It seems like they would summarize that as being internal reflection, but they use the word prayer there, so I think I got that.
Nice. Yeah, so for me it's like meditation is it's in everything. Like it's how I interface with disconnecting from an idea that I'm this character that's like separate from everything, and really dissolving all of the lines of separation and going into the experiential realm of oneness, of like the I am field. I am everything. I am the tree. I am the you on the other side of the computer. I am, you know, my entire environment. I'm everything. And whether that is through prayer or like the 2 to 5 seconds practice where I'm noticing that I'm not my thoughts, I'm not my actual skin line or my body. I'm this like vibrating field of awareness and consciousness itself. Like that is my definition and way of meditating and connecting with all that is, you know.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get that next question around. I'm really excited and eager to hear what you guys have to, or what you all have to share in your simple experiences. And so again, I'll just repeat the question here. This is to bring awareness to the spiritual significance of the subtle energies in our life, of the little conversations that we have, or in the experience of, you know, going out and helping your parents move and realizing the appreciation of a bigger experience in that. And so, yeah, just finding spiritual significance in our day-to-day lives. And if you have an example of just something that happened recently, of just a little experience that gave you a tidbit of spiritual insight, and to share what that was and what it meant for you. So Anthony, if you want to take it away. Kind of moving around there.
Yeah, sorry, I was just, oh, can you hear me? Yeah, sorry, I was just sealing up some pots over there. Sorry, could you repeat the question? What was recently important, or I can't remember what exactly you said.
It's finding spiritual significance in the little things. So, you know, like everything we do, every conversation we have is spiritually significant. So being able to find that in your day-to-day life and then share an example.
I do actually have something key I want to explore on that topic, because if you imagine, when you go through your day, like you said, many little things happen. And I think it was you, Benoit, you said that even when a conversation arises, you could get like that thought that connects you to a deeper psychological meaning or spiritual meaning that you were previously thinking of, and you kind of go off the rails a bit. But that's a very vital part, which I feel is kind of, it leads people down a bit of a strange route, especially, you know, you get people getting into numerology and noticing numbers in their day, and they see all these signs, you know, and you get people who go kind of a bit out of whack because of those things. But it's a very powerful tool. There's something happening here, and it's the universe showing you. If you look for something and you put your mind to it and you repeat that mantra in your head, you see it return in the world around you. And the universe has a habit of showing you, especially, and this is considering Scorpio we're in right now, it's going to show you, hey, look, you're kind of doing this, and this is not working well because you keep repeating this cycle, or you know, other people might not receive this thing the way you put it out, and all these little signs build up. I feel like with meditation, you can kind of stop, analyze your day and your past week, look at every piece of the puzzle, and you put it together, and you have a realization based on those pieces. And the present moment is so infinite that we're always constantly receiving these signals. So we just need to listen, try not to assign our own wants and needs to these signs, and see them as they are through meditation, ignoring the ego.
That's a very general, non-specific experience that you had very recently.
I think because I mean, I wouldn't know what to focus on now. I mean, you can pick anything up. You can pick up this. I got a little mouse in front of me, and this is something that's been created through the infinite universe as we arrived at this moment. So you can find infinity in anything. You can find infinity in this. You can find spiritual significance in a dead fly on the desk or something. You know, so by looking at a piece, you can talk about rotation here. You can talk about impact, or you know, you can talk about black and white, positive and negative. There's so many unfolding, cycles.
Cool. I like.
So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to say on that.
Totally. Thank you for sharing. Next image of our little list there is Benoit.
All right. It's interesting that you're bringing focus onto more specific, mundane things, because I have been consciously diving really deep, so nothing to me is mundane at this point. So that said, something that I've never really connected with intentionally in the past, but has become a really interesting tool is, and so finding release and kind of validation in writing down ideas. I came to realize just the other night, well, this would have been a few hours before the new moon here. It was 2 a.m. And I came to realize that I'm actually very fearful of forgetting my ideas and the things that I'm able to put together, in whatever combination my vessel chooses to do. And so just writing those things down, even just bullet point, has been really, really good in allowing my mind to rest. And so finding that benefit from this activity. And so I can't really think of a specific day-to-day thing, because like I said, I'm looking for those deep meanings in my life. And so one other thing that came to mind, though, was me working. I work at an elementary school. I'm actually in a kindergarten class. And so being with children all day is such a wondrous, I don't even know how to describe it, because they are not contemplating life. They are not looking for meaning. They're not going deep. They're very, very in the now. And so bringing it back to what Jocelyn was saying about meditation and experiencing the oneness, I've actually found so much benefit from contemplating my distinction and my distinctiveness, because I mean, they're both paradigms that we live in, and they're both aspects of our existence. And I think for me, what's been so powerful in spending time with children is that that's where they are. They are units in and of themselves. They have their own presence, and they interact with the world knowing that their experience is unlike anyone else's experience. And so it's such a beautiful environment to be in, and to witness the literal formation of a human into how they relate and understand their environment, and find their own expression of that. So yeah, kind of bringing attention to that, and being with children, just it's like a reality check.
Yeah.
It's like, get out of your head. You got to be here now, because that's what life is really about, and they know that. So it's a really cool reminder to come back.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing.
That's great.
Jocelyn, would you like to share?
So I really loved what you just shared about presence. When I was first awakening to synchronicity, like, seeing angel numbers, for example, to communicate messages, and different animals having meanings and all of these things, like, I would create these layers of messengers throughout my entire environment to clue me on to, like an extended version of what I was thinking or believing. And I've just recently, since August, I've been going through this kind of death of everything that I've known, and a release of needing to name anything as a signal or a message in that sense, and just being the experiencer. So it's been really amazing to be the child, whereas the child isn't actually identifying themselves as their thoughts, as what's naming a story or a narrative of what's happening in their lives. It's like they're dropping into presence. They're not identifying with thoughts yet. They're just moving as spirit. And so what I've been experiencing lately is kind of this it's this new kind of warped sense. It's not warped in a bad way, but kind of like unplugging from the matrix, in the sense of I'm focusing more on who is observing the thoughts rather than believing I am the thoughts themselves or the being. And so what I've been experiencing is this massive dissolving of a skin line, my body, and like this huge, massive presence opening up, and seeing everything as an absolute, not reflection, but embodiment of everything that I am. Like all that I am is everything that is being observed or able to be aware of, and even beyond that. So it's been this massive field of love and bliss and presence, and especially in my relational dynamics, because that's where I feel like the most intense reflections come from, or the immediate environment. And I live in a community kind of situation, so there's always these like, and each person is also aware of this awareness, watching, be awareness, able to witness what's happening, and that being the ultimate thing that you are, rather than this mask that we choose to put on every day. I don't know if this is like translating, but so in that you get these like really pure reflections of maybe what the subconscious beliefs that you've held on for years are, and one of them for me that I've been really learning is that all love comes from me. Everything else is an illusion. Everything else is myself. So if I would go to touch someone physically, I'm just touching myself. So I can access that feeling of love and pleasure and experience, or whatever, nurturance, feeling of being taken care of. There's all these honeybees that are like coming right now. It's amazing. But anyway, so but anything, any form, like I'm really trying to get to this center of self-sourcing, where all things are me and come from me, and all things are love, all things, so that's what I've been experiencing in my my perception, I guess, my lens that I've
Thank you for sharing. There was one thing specifically that came up in that for me, was through reading the Celestine prophecies you had mentioned. It was right when you started, the animal guides and the little messages that each animal carries as it comes across your gaze, and being able to pay attention to those just as another way that the infinite all is communicating with you, is something that I had appreciated in the past, but re-presencing that was really cool.
Oh, nice. Yeah, this actually, I haven't done that in so long. And this bee, if you see,
yeah, we can see it.
Bee keeps like specifically just curiously zooming.
I think it likes your hat.
Me and Kane. Oh my gosh, it really wants to like interface with me. So I haven't had this type of experience with like an animal or an insect in a while. So that's like,
spiritual significance right there.
Yeah.
All right, Karen, would you like to share your finding spiritual importance from your day-to-day life, and things that you have been experiencing recently, or however you want to share?
Yeah, I actually want to say thank you to everybody who has shared so far. I definitely relate on a lot of them, with them. Let's see. I also relate with the physical properties of like the outside, and I just like see how that's like part of myself. One of the things that I've been doing is kind of like reflecting every day before I go to sleep, kind of like, what have I done? What spiritual practice have I done throughout my day that is like pushing me towards this like purpose? Because like I to me personally, the spiritual experiencing, it has so many beautiful aspects, but also there's like this like work that it's like every day you wake up and you're like, okay, well, here we go. Like, what is it today? You know, like that I have to face, that I have to work through, that I have to like give love to or hug, or this part of myself or this part of someone else that I have to like reflect on, because they are myself too. And also what I give my energy to is very important. Defining the difference between, am I observing because it's me, or because someone else is like penetrating me to feel this, you know? And I just protecting myself and just trying to again unplug from the matrix. Trying to be careful of what I listen to and what type of spelling people are singing into my ear, or just commercial wise. Like I'm just trying to separate myself from all of that, and constantly, if I do find a moment to myself, not only be aware but stay in the sense of like learning. Like, let me use this moment to read. If I'm in a bus, that's every day. Or listen to a video, a mindful video from someone that like is sharing their experiences. So that is something I do constantly every day. Just reflect on what I did today for this path. And then also like I've heard people keep spiritual diaries. That would be like really cool. But I keep a dreaming diary, which also like goes in part with my day, because like I'll also reflect on my dreams and the small little properties that I see within my dream, and how that reflects. I'm like, okay, well, that correlates here, and then I'm like, okay, here, and just making ties of everything, just because this is all crazy.
So your dreams correlate with your real life?
Yes, a lot, like a lot. I don't even. Me and my bed have a sacred relationship. Even if I see, for example, something that, for example, the other day I dreamt about a white house, and there's this app that tells you meanings. So I'm like, I look for the color white, and like white means pure, and then you look, okay, well, this empty house, right? So it's a white empty house, and it has a couple of furniture, and it was just, it'll give you, each property has a different, like, it's kind of like your consciousness putting a picture on how that part of it like feels. So it creates this like environment and like adventure for you. So like that for me was like this new space, this new house, I'm like this new home that I'm feeling at home to, like this new feeling. So I'll reflect on that throughout my day and what I'm going through, or throughout my week. So just like constant reflection and constant like trying to unplug.
Wait, so is that White House a dream or real?
No, it was a dream.
Oh.
But I think what she was saying was the types of things she was dreaming about, whether that's the color or the object itself or the environment, they're all channels that our subconscious uses to help communicate with us and have spiritual significance in those things. I have a dream book as well, and I've often just like looked at context of like, what is the concept of what I was dreaming about, and I would look up that concept in this book, and often the subconscious significance behind that specific event illustrated why you were dreaming about it in the first place, why your consciousness had to go back there, or wanted to go back there, what information was in there for you. So thanks for sharing. That's really awesome. I love that. Kevin, I believe you're next on the list here.
All right. So as I said earlier, my background is very much a capitalist, and as a result of that, it really formed a lot of my thoughts, and I really believed that I should credit myself for all of my success. And so one of the things that I found myself doing a lot during that time is also wishing for things. I was constantly wishing for something new, for making more money, or you know, having the perfect relationship or whatever. And you know, obviously both of those things are obviously very ego focused. And the other thing that I kind of have realized recently is that if you want something, you can spend all of your time wanting it instead of living. So with all that in mind, now what I find is that I'm not very good at being grateful. Like I forget to be grateful for things because, again, I credited myself for everything as a good capitalist would. So now what I do is when I have those thoughts, when I have those wishes, I still have them. I still go, oh, I wish this would happen. I wish the comic book would be wildly successful. And then I go, wait a minute. This is an opportunity now. This is an opportunity for me to first, my wish should be, I wish I was more grateful. So I just change it real fast. And then I go ahead and start listing off all the things that I'm grateful for as a practice. So as I do this on a daily basis, it becomes more and more natural. So I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy with how that's going, but I've still got a long way to go.
I really like that. Thank you for sharing.
That's great. Yeah.
Gratitude is huge.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And it's always a process, right? It's always doing a little bit at a time, a little, and then, the fruits of that labor, which Karen was talking about as well, right? That work, spiritual work, it comes to fruition.
Absolutely. Nicholas, what is some things in your life that you've been noticing spiritual significance from, or the ways that you've seen God speaking to you just outside of prayer, but in your day-to-day interactions with life around you?
That's a big, long question. I think I just like, well, right now I'm trying to make an app based on birthdays. So I match people based on their birthdays. I have a programmer that helps me do it. And also, in terms of health, I like to eat sprouts. And also, I eat raw organic honey and organic olive oil. And yeah, I'm trying to make an app based on birthdays. And I'm also studying the Bible a lot. And I have my own journal. It's a spirit journal. I showed you guys before in the previous video.
I've seen it.
Yeah, it's about numerology. And after I finish reading the whole Bible, I'm probably going to start studying like science, neuroscience, and biology, and like physics, chemistry.
Could I maybe narrow the question down a little bit more and say maybe like what would the spiritual significance or spiritual impact of your app have on the greater community?
Well, the divorce rate in the United States is like 50%. So my app would match people based on their birthdays so that they have the right person to be with, and because they have chemistry with that person. So it would like stop people from like breaking up.
Interesting.
So you mean you'd match the birthdays on the same day, or kind of horoscope sort of thing?
Yeah, pretty much. But it's more accurate. It's more accurate than horoscopes.
Yeah.
So also, I'm studying etymology. This website is called Etym Online, which I was just reading from the meditation, the meaning of meditation. And it shows all the roots, like all the ancient roots of all words in the dictionary. And I'm studying my name. My name actually means prosperous in Vietnamese. Dat Phat means prosperous in Vietnamese. And my last name, Huy, it means bright and successful. And my first name means strife, which is kind of bad. But it has a dual meaning. Strife and less strife. It means less strife because Nick O less. Nick means strife and O less means less strife. It also means Nick O less, like Nick, because Nick means strife, and then O is all, and us is people. So it means strife of us and also less strife. So that's a dual meaning. And based on, and it was interesting what Karen was saying, like she has a sacred relation with her bed, but like based on her birthday, like she really likes her bed. Because 24 is bed. Yeah.
That's good.
And also, Aaron means exalted. I think I already said that before. Yeah.
I've gone through this, totally. I really like what you had said, though, about going into the etymology and going into birth dates and finding those little things about, like, what's the deeper meaning of this word? Or where does the significance,
Yeah,
where does this word come from? And how could we learn more about it by understanding the depths of some of those things? And likewise, too, about understanding our relationships, we'll say, with each other based on things like our astrological templates, and then more than that because of the obvious infinite numbers of information that we have coming through us constantly. So I really like the fact that you presence that, Nicholas. That's really great. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Joshua, if you would like to bring awareness to the experiences in your life that have had spiritual significance and the little things, obviously.
When I was studying to be a high priest, one of the things that my teacher talked about often and was signs and portents and synchronicities. Very much, I think, what you're talking about here. And one of my favorite ones that he would always recount is when you make your first cup of coffee in the morning or your first cup of tea and you pour the glass, if there are bubbles in it, then money's on its way. If they're on the far side of the glass, it'll take a little while. If they're on the side nearest that you'll drink from, it's coming really quickly. And if they're floating in the center, it's up in the air and it depends on what you choose. And the other one that he would throw in right after that was if a bird flies into your home, unexpected visitors or news is coming soon. And so those are, the kinds of things or meaningful coincidences as well, things that have personal significance because of what they are and what you were thinking about. I have those every day. And much like everyone else, I think we're all here because we are paying attention to the deeper meaning in life. But I did have a personal experience this week. I was getting scared about my birthday because I have had negative experiences on quite a few birthdays, and I was worried that I hadn't grown enough to break free from some patterns. And as that fear was flashing through my mind, I got up to go and get a drink because it made my mouth dry out and my throat constrict a little bit. And so I stood up and I went towards my kitchen, and as I passed through the dining room, the glass doors, I could see onto the back porch and in the backyard, and there was a swarm of cardinals. And that was significant for, it's a double reason. The first one being, if you look up what the significance of a cardinal is, a lot of the time you're going to see the message being that the angels, the archangels, or higher energy beings, high vibration beings are watching over you. They're there to show you support. And so from that, knowing that right off the top of my head, seeing a whole flock, swarm, I don't know what you call a mass of cardinals in that great a number, but...
Is the gaggle a term? Wait, that's geese.
Yeah. But I think that seeing them right as I was having that flicker of a fear of repeating a pattern was almost like, people describing it felt like the angel just wrapped them up in their wings. And the secondary meaning there for me is I have what makes it synchronous or a synchronicity is that I've been doing readings for myself as I've been going through this growth cycle since, this whole year. But I keep getting lately this message of your guardian angels there with you, or one of them, somebody did a reading, and it was that it was an angel oracle reading, and Archangel Michael had placed his cloak around me, and my sword, or his sword, was in my hand, and that was just, it was all of that kind of strings together into this idea of the power exists. It's not that it's mine, because like Jocelyn was saying, there is no me. It's that I am we. We're all one, and as I grow more into awareness of that, I align more into that light, love that we is. I can feel it, and I can feel that connection with the other perspectives vibrating, the other waves in the ocean.
That's a good analogy.
Thank you very much for sharing. That was amazing.
Thanks, Josh.
I really love that. Like the thought that sparked within me as you were sharing, even like with the little bubbles and how they form around the glass, is just an example of like that Thoth quote of every step thou taketh, infinite now is the mountain of light. It's as you start to understand these synchronicities or the sensations that are coming through us or how the universe is speaking, we open that door and we go, oh, it's constantly communicating with us. And then it's like, okay, well, now that I'm more aware of that, you start to be able to receive more information. Your light vessel expands. And I've actually had this expressed as the term light quotient, which is the level that you're vibrating at is equal to the amount of information that you'll be able to receive. So it's always sort of directly relative to where you're at. And then as you continue your own journey, you're able to see that deeper meaning. And then once you understand that, now you can see an even deeper meaning, and like continuously going back and taking the time to reflect on those. It's infinite is the information that's going out there. And I remember there was one time where like the members of our spirit group here were walking around downtown, and we like walked past just a random house. We pointed it out. We went, you know what? The amount of divine information that exists, even with how the siding on this house was shaped and formed, like you can find runes in it and spiritual significance, but it's like all quantum information that has materialized down into what we're perceiving as a house in this moment. But once you get at deeper levels, it's all just infinite amounts of information. And it reminded me from the Bhagavad Gita of that one expression where Arjuna asks Krishna, let me see through your eyes. I want to like know the amount of information and actually like interact with it at that level. And Krishna was like, all right, man, here you go. And it was like so intensely overwhelming that Arjuna just like collapses under the weight of the information, going like, I had no idea it was going to be this mind-boggling. I'm not anywhere close to ready for that yet. Oh gosh. So it's really cool though. Like in this journey, I feel like we're all learning at exactly where we need to be based on our light quotients, and we're all helping each other by sharing these things, bringing awareness into that love and that light within us. We're like sparking that fire inside of each other, and this whole thing is just growing as a community. And I'm just so grateful for all of you to be here and to share in this. It's like, this is spiritual significance. Thank you.
And this is kind of what we were talking about throughout this conversation as well. At some points, the cycle, the repetition of investing that energy into a certain thing, and you start to get spiritual significance out of it. I mean, for me personally, this has now become quite a good way of identifying and transforming or catalyzing all of the experiences that you can relate to the full moon. You okay? and so Reese just nearly fell over. So I feel like this chat is just like you're saying, what we're building, what we're doing right now starts to gather traction, starts to have effects, starts to become more than what it originally was, just because we have invested in it. And so I look forward to many more, or wherever this takes us. Yeah, whatever happens with this.
I also think it's beautiful that, like, you know, almost a lot of people, like people that I would never thought that they would become like vegetarians, you know, or the first step, or even like thinking about being vegan, like all this awareness of like animal cruelty is like coming to the surface, and it's like cool to be, you know, like to rise above, you know, like just that cruelty, and like seeing my friends just like go through it. I'm just like, oh, you make my heart happy. And just like it's like these videos are like trickling down in the universe, and like in the future, like someone might stumble upon these, and it's gonna be beautiful.
Well, I would love to open up a closing meditation here. If anyone has something in mind that they would like to share, or even just a simple reflection, I'd love to have another member here.
I like to say this one verse. It's in John 6:53. It says, Jesus therefore said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you do not have life within yourselves. The Son of Man is Jesus, and not many people know this, but we can eat and drink of Jesus.
And by that, do you mean like taking the blood and the body of Christ in symbolism, or, you know, like giving that symbolism power and ingesting a substance that you give power to through prayer? Is that what you're talking on?
I think it's just spiritually, like we can eat him spiritually and symbolic. No, just spiritually, because there's a verse that also says, he who is joined to the Lord is one spirit. And we can partake of Christ in our spirit because he's a life-giving spirit, and he comes into our spirit and makes us one with him. And this is signified by the bread and the wine. The bread is his body and the wine is his blood. And when we drink his blood and eat his flesh, we become the same as he is.
That's bringing on the theme of integration for me, and finding that part of ourselves and bringing it forward. So knowing that whatever we choose to incorporate into our existence becomes part of what we then express and share. So integrating that aspect, which kind of, and I don't know if you wanted to say something else about that, Aaron, but it kind of gave me a segue into something else that I would share.
Go ahead.
And it's interesting now, I had this thought because it's such a theme to talk about oneness, and we're all part of the same, we're all coming from the same source. And that's been a very profound realization for a lot of people. You know, it's helped me personally, help to dissolve boundaries that weren't healthy for me. But now I'm in a really different place, and I mentioned a little bit earlier about recognizing the importance of distinction and individuation. And then I had a thought about the transition from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius, where Pisces is all about the dream, it's all about the one, the interconnection of everything. And Aquarius is about that individuality and that radical, change that comes from within. And I think that something that I came across recently, which was very profound for me, is that a lot of people have the idea of oneness as we are all the same, like we are all the same thing. But I think that the beauty of being alive here on Earth now is that we all have our completely unique combination of everything that we've experienced, and that the beauty of being here together is to share that uniqueness in as authentically as possible. And so as much as the theme of oneness is often brought up when talking about spirituality, something that has been instrumental in my growth and my change over the last few months has been just that, is recognizing what my specific combination of experiences and feelings and emotions and ideas can bring to contribute to the whole, to the one. Yeah, and that's been really, really powerful. So
we all have that unique perspective, and being able to bring that up and put voice to it and resonance behind it is really important. And thank you also, Nicholas, for bringing that presence and that awareness of, you know, how we are communing. Again, I'll use the word specifically communing because I understand the communion process there. And yeah, like the symbology and the spirituality of being very particular about what it is that we are choosing to accept as truth and taking into ourselves and integrating into our own spiritual experiences, and being, you know, observant and aware and gratitude or appreciative of all of the experiences, but also still like learning and growing from this and seeing the deeper meanings and the synchronicities and a continual refinement and a constant growth through all of these experiences to get closer and closer to that understanding of the divine. So thank you. And I think, Anthony, was it you who had leaned forward there when I had mentioned a closing meditation? Are you interested in guiding one of those?
I had one kind of semi-ready to do last chat, so I'm happy to share that with you all if you'd like.
We'll take it away.
So, as always, begin to focus on the breath, keeping your eyes open or closed, entirely your choice, sitting or standing. Exhaling. Noticing your heart beating, sensations around the body where you feel cold or hot, discomfort, peace, pleasure. Notice what is going on in the present moment and reach out through your senses. Feel. What do you hear? What do you see? What will you do later? And what have you been doing recently? And so we begin to weigh up our emotional consequences and state and accept them. This is where we're at right now. And just taking some time to level out with the breath before we continue. Gathered some body awareness, and many of us live behind the eyes. You to take the collection of where you believe you are within your body and sink it down or raise it up. Try and spread it so that it's evenly positioned throughout, or even beyond the body. As you said, Jocelyn, beyond the skin. The skin is not a barrier. Letting it level out with the breath. Now, this last part of the exercise, imagine where your heart is. Collect your awareness. And as you breathe in, imagine your heart is like a funnel, collecting around it the water, waves, magnetic fields, whatever you envision in your own mind. Find what feels right for you. Gathering. It's being offered. It's not pulling or sucking it in. Breathe in, it's gathering. From inside you, where this energy is, let it upwards, out, and then cascading all around you. Continue to repeat this cycle. Inhale, collecting. Exhale, expanding. Now, once this has been manifested in the heart and the body awareness has been collected, you may position this at any chakra. The heart is key and pivotal, and the lower dantian, or gut, intestines, is a secondary advisory point to start as well. And so I hope you enjoyed this meditation, and it will continue to bring some love, light, and joy into your own lives. Thank you and namaste.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Anthony.
All right. Well,
so that's one I'll probably post up soon as well.
That does conclude our call here today. But Jordan, if you want to give a little shout out to the group.
Hey, everybody. I'm shouting out to you.
Hey, Jordan.
Aaron has the headphone jack in, so I can't hear anybody, but I apologize. Please forgive me for not being on the call, because it was, I don't know if Aaron filled in the group or whatever, but it was moving day for Alexandria. I guess I should stand on kind of below there, but yeah, it was moving day, so I was like driving a U-Haul around and helping load it and unload it and stuff like that. So I just walked in, but I was happy to be a part of the closing meditation and prayer, and it's wonderful to see all of your beautiful faces.
I saw you sitting in the
better late than
corner.
never.
Yeah.
I thought you had just joined because you had a little image in the corner, but you were actually sitting in the couch. I was like, oh, he's actually there.
Yeah, I saw it from here. It's like my head's just like popping over the hangout window, like just working back here. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. It was a good call. Everybody have fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Yeah, very good to share.
Cool.
All right. Well, peace and love, everyone. Thank you so
great.
much for being here, and we look forward to the next call.
Thank you so much for hosting.
Yeah.
Good talking with you guys again.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.